I'm the Stonewatch. This is my movie review for Twisters. And if you haven't already, please smash the subscribe button and click on that bell so you can be notified for future videos. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And yes, after checking out Twisters in the theaters opening weekend, I gotta say, this movie was actually pretty damn good. I really did enjoy watching this film, despite the fact it was supposed to be about tornado disasters. Now, I also thought that this movie was more brutal compared to what we got in 96. I mean, there was a lot more on-screen deaths that I remember than there was in the first film. And I thought that the aftermath that they showed from the tornadoes afterwards was a lot more devastating than what we saw in the previous film. Maybe that's just me. I could be wrong. But other than that, and that scene where the tornado hits while everybody was at the rodeo was just as terrifying, if not more so, in the actual film than it was watching it for the trailer. At least it was for me. I mean, that scene was like totally mind-blowing. Now, this movie was directed by Lee Isaac Chung. Now, looking over his filmography, the only things on there that I've seen other than this movie right here, he did an episode for Mandalorian Season 3, which I thought that episode was okay. I mean, it wasn't like the best episode I ever seen. And he's slated to direct for Star Wars Skeleton Crew, which is coming out on Disney Plus this fall. Now, I have not even seen a trailer for that yet, so I have no idea if that's going to be any good or not. I'm hoping that show is pretty good because The Alkalite just ended here not too long ago, and that movie was all right. You know what I'm saying? So Disney's not really doing all that great when it comes to Star Wars TV. That's just my opinion. However, but other than that, overall, I thought he did a pretty good job with this movie, even though I think that it kind of seemed like to me he used the same story beats that was in the first film. Maybe that's just me. I mean, it just seemed like there was a lot of similarities with, maybe that's just me, and then this was listed as a standalone sequel. It was. I mean, they did not really reference anybody else from the first film. There was like maybe 2 references to the first film in this, and that was at the very beginning of the movie. I mean, you saw it in the trailer. You see that Dorothy was actually in this thing, but when one of the characters said something about how he was like old and not all that great, he's like, hey, this thing's been field tested. And then later on in the movie, when he shows up again, he's got like newer equipment that he can actually do basically the same thing that Dorothy did, but just more high tech. And then they had a reference about how this was replacing Dorothy. And he's like, yep, it is. So that was the only 2 references to the original film in this. You know what I'm saying? And then I seen a report saying that Bill Paxton's son was actually in this. And I thought he looked just like his dad, and I'd be able to pick him out as the movie went on. Well, I watched the whole movie, and I'm like, I didn't see his kid or something like that. Then I saw later on after the movie the picture of his kid. I'm going, that's him. He looks nothing like his dad. And his character in the movie was kind of a jerk. Maybe that's just me. However, he did a pretty good job. He had me convinced. You know what I'm saying? And I thought it was kind of neat how Glen Powell's character was supposed to be a YouTuber, and that's what he did for his YouTube videos, was like go into tornadoes and stuff like that, and then shooting all fireworks in them and stuff like that. And then he took that British reporter into it like 2 or 3 times, and then like towards the end of the film, when they're about ready to do it again, he's like, go ahead, get in. He's like, no offense, but I'm gonna go ride with somebody else. I thought that was hilarious, and I thought it was pretty funny that he was a YouTuber and that was how he made his videos. I mean, that's kind of messed up. I don't know if that's an actual thing on YouTube. I'm gonna have to check that out and see if it is. You know what I mean? Now, as of this recording, Twisters is sitting with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 78%, with 276 top critics reporting in. Now, a little over 3/4 of those critics actually liked this movie, and I read a couple of the ones who didn't like it, and man, they didn't hold nothing back. They were brutal. You know what I'm saying? So, now over on the audience side, it's sitting with a score of 92%, with 2,500 plus fans telling you what they think. Now, the fans are loving this movie way more so than the critics, and it is showing at the box office. Twister storms the #1, bringing in $81.2 million for his domestic weekend haul. If you add in the international box office, that brings the worldwide box office grand total to $124.7 million, which is pretty good for your opening weekend. But however, with a budget of $155 to $200 million, this thing is going to have to bring in at least $450 to $500 million just to break even. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how this thing performs in week 2. But the only problem with that is Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out for week 2 for this movie, so that's not looking good. And Deadpool Wolverine is slated to have a huge box office for its opening weekend. I'm going myself. I'm going first thing in the morning. I already bought my ticket weeks ago, and I am ready to go. I can't wait for that movie. But that's a topic for a whole nother video. However, this movie was actually pretty good. I mean, I hope it does halfway decent. I mean, I don't think it's going to become like a film franchise and stuff like that, because, when they originally announced that they were going to do a sequel to this movie, I'm like, can you really do a sequel to it? I mean, there's tornadoes all the damn time. time, so it's not like you can't come up with a story with it. I was hoping it would have been a little bit more connected to the original film than it actually was. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie. I mean, and it's not really a remake, even though a lot of the same story beats in this movie was like in the first film. Again, that's just me. Maybe I'm just seeing stuff that's not really there, but I don't know. So I don't know, man. Like I said, overall, I did like this movie. I thought it was pretty damn good. I was hoping for more connection to the original film than there actually was, and there wasn't. It kind of sucks. At the same time, I guess it's better than like doing a whole bunch of, hey, you remember this? Hey, you remember that? I mean, they didn't do that. I don't know if this movie was shot in the same area as the original film. I know it was shot in Tornado Alley, but I don't know if this one was mainly focused in Oklahoma. I don't think the other movie was, but I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I'll have to go check that out, to double check on that. But other than that, I thought this movie was pretty good, worth the watch. Kind of want to see it on the biggest screen you can, but that's just me. So did you get a chance to go check out Twisters in the theaters opening weekend? Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? You think this movie was any good? Let me know in the comments down below. And how do you think this compared to the first film? Let me know in the comments down below. I mean, it was pretty good. Now we'll just have to wait and see how this thing does at the box office, right? So, now what you think in the comments.